So, interesting article that's come out on the F1 Chronicle.com here saying that Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez apparently are in Formula 1 for the money and not because of talent. Well, let's have a look at this here, because I'm sure this is going to be a very strong opinion from somebody within the Formula 1 world. Full article on the F1 Chronicle as always, guys. So, 2 F1 drivers are surviving in the sport for reasons of money rather than talent, prominent pundits suspect. Lance Stroll has contested well over 160 Grand Prix for teams either funded or owned by his billionaire father Lawrence, including Williams, Racing Point and now Aston Martin. The now 26-year-old has had scores of critics over those years, but they were arguably the loudest after the recent Brazilian Grand Prix when Stroll spun and then beached his green car in the gravel trap on the formation lap. And that was all after the mechanics at Aston Martin slaved away after qualifying to fix his car. He ends up binning it not even before the race starts. That is one of the worst episodes in what is a pretty dismal career at times for Lance Stroll. He said, sorry, no, this is Timo Glock. Is that Glock? It is! It's Glock! Timo Glock said, for me, there are a few things that don't seem right. Glock said to Speed Week. Losing control of the car on the way to the starting grid, okay, but then sinking into the gravel like that, really? He also wrecked the car in qualifying. Glock has further gripes about the Canadian racer. I'm bothered by this apathy when he steps in front of the reporters' cameras and microphones. There are 1 or 2 videos from press conferences and all you can do is shake your head, said the German. Behaviour like that leaves me speechless. This driver is really a laughing stock. For me, there are so many talented people out there that deserve an F1 cockpit more than him. I don't disagree with anything that he's just said there. I will say one thing though, and I've said this a few times, and I did a video a good few months ago going over, Lance Stroll's mental health. I feel like that is, part of what's doing this, especially his interviews where he's just so downtrodden and just doesn't really seem to care, because I don't think he does, but because of all the pressure that he's under, he's probably thinking, well, why even bother? Why do I even need to bother with this? So what I would say in that case, the best thing for him, if that he has having difficulties like that, is to get out of the sport, get away from the pressure, have a break. It's relentless because everybody rightfully assumes to an extent that he's only there because of his dad, and that Aston Martin seat could go to somebody who is more talented. A Yuki Tsunoda maybe? A Felipe Drugovich, he's a reserve driver there. I would argue that Drugovich definitely deserves a chance in Formula 1, but doesn't look like it's going to happen. Former Haas boss Gunther Steiner has described Stroll's formation lap spin at Interlagos as a brain fart, questioning whether he even wants to be an F1 driver. Another driver clinging to credibility at present is Sergio Perez, with many puzzled as to why Red Bull continues to cling to a driver struggling to even consistently score points. Dutch racing driver Renger van der Zande, what a name, I never heard of you, man, you got the coolest name in motorsport. Part of the Dutch punditry scene for Ziggo Sport, thinks he knows the answer. I heard through the grapevine that Perez's sponsor has set up a TV program or series where it is quite important that Sergio Perez is in F1 with Red Bull next year. That's one of the reasons why they are still persisting with him. There is also a rumour going around that the current TV series in Latin America for Disney Plus that Sergio Perez is part of the reason they don't want the guy that's the centre of this series to no longer be in F1. And I've also heard rumours as well that Carlos Slim basically ponies up whatever the difference is in the Constructors' Championship that Red Bull lose out by not winning. So for example, for this season, if they finish 3rd, Carlos Slim will make up the financial difference between 3rd and 1st and pay it to Red Bull. Allegedly, and that is all a rumour, that is all unconfirmed, but that's just what I've heard through my grapevine personally. Former F1 Supremo Bernie Eccleston is among those that thinks that Red Bull should already have ousted the struggling Mexican. He told Blick newspaper that Yuki Tsunoda should have been put in Perez's seat 2 races ago. He said, and I quote, "Then we would know whether Yuki is really ready for the job next to Max Verstappen," he said. I'm not sure that many people are ready for the job next to Max Verstappen, to be honest. That is a very, very poisoned chalice, a very blazing hot seat. But yeah, interesting theories there. I mean, I don't disagree with the things that Glock is saying about Lance Stroll, really. That was embarrassing. Listen, all these drivers have them, but they also have really good flashes of brilliance. And unfortunately for Stroll, he has had some good bright sparks in his career. The pole at Turkey in 21, getting a podium at Azerbaijan 2017, for example, a podium Hockenheimring in 2019. But all these moments are years ago. You can't still dine out on these moments. It just doesn't work like that. So for me personally, that seat has to go to somebody else. And also the mental health side of things, like I said, I feel like the best thing for him is just to call it quits. You know, he doesn't need to be in F1. He's a son of a billionaire. He's going to be fine. Go and sit on the board with his dad at Aston Martin or something. Make that seat available to someone who can actually make a difference, who can actually have a hope of challenging Fernando Alonso. Yes, challenging Fernando Alonso is a very difficult thing in Formula 1. Some incredible drivers have struggled to keep pace with him. Think about Kimi Raikkonen when they were at Ferrari, although the design of the car had a reason for that. But anyway, let's not get down that rabbit hole. My point being is that Lance Stroll doesn't have a hope in hell of challenging Fernando Alonso, just like Sergio Perez doesn't have a hope in hell of challenging Max Verstappen. And the reasons for Perez being in that team, I think, are even more money motivated than Lance Stroll, to be honest. But there we go, guys. Those are my kind of thoughts on it. I want to hear your thoughts next. Does Perez need to be replaced? Does Lance Stroll need to be replaced? And who would you replace them with if you think that's the case? Let us know in the comments below, as always. And of course, keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com to see much more video content on the world of F1 just like this.